The following episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television.
Good morning, USA, and welcome to another episode of the Bernie or Bust Show. Here we sit on the day after the Super Tuesday primary contests. And as we sit here licking our wounds, we understand now better than ever that the word cabal is not too strong a word for the group that aligned itself behind Joe Biden. On eve of Super Tuesday primaries, Democratic Party goes to war against Sanders by Patrick Martin. Patrick Martin is a socialist, not just a Democratic socialist. The Democratic Party is engaged in a last-ditch effort to boost the struggling campaign of former Vice President Joe Biden and block the nomination of Senator Bernie Sanders. They fear that in today's primary contests in 14 states, Sanders could open up an insurmountable lead in terms of number of delegates to the Democratic nominating convention. So the DNC pulled out all the stops and wielded its immense power in blocking Bernie in the Super Tuesday primary contests. In the wake of Biden's victory in the South Carolina primary Saturday, the party leadership has pushed two of the right-wing candidates for the presidential nomination, Senator Amy Klobuchar and former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, out of the race. Both traveled to Dallas, Texas, Monday to endorse Biden, with Buttigieg appearing with the former vice president at a local restaurant and Klobuchar addressing a campaign rally in the evening. Former President Barack Obama reportedly took the lead in pressuring Buttigieg in a phone call from the former commander-in-chief to the former naval intelligence officer, telling him this was his maximum leverage for future influence in the Democratic Party. It is not known who spoke to Klobuchar, but she addressed a campaign rally in Salt Lake City, Utah on Monday morning as a candidate, and 90 minutes later announced she was ending her campaign and endorsing Biden. Another failed presidential candidate, former Representative Beto O'Rourke of Texas, also announced his support for Biden on Monday, as did a slew of other top Democrats. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice, Senator Tim Kaine, and others. The lineup assembled on Monday behind Biden personifies the reactionary social forces that dominate the Democratic Party. Biden himself is the most right-wing of all the major candidates for the Democratic presidential nomination, steeped in the crimes of American imperialism during the 8 years of the Obama-Biden administration, which followed his 36-year career in the U.S. Senate, where he boasted of close relationships with reactionaries like Strom Thurmond and James Eastland, and more recently, Mitch McConnell. His coalition consists of upper-middle-class factions based on identity politics of race and gender, such as Representative James Clyburn, whose backing was critical in South Carolina, and Senator Klobuchar. The military intelligence apparatus directly represented in this campaign by Buttigieg, and the financial aristocracy whose support is still divided between Biden and billionaire Michael Bloomberg. Sanders is unacceptable to the party because the party has no intention of raising any issue of significant social reform in the 2020 elections. It wants to run a right-wing campaign largely based on attacking Trump as a Russian agent, a rerun of the 2016 Hillary Clinton campaign, and we know how that turned out, in which it seeks to gain the support of Wall Street and the CIA for the ouster of Trump. If Elizabeth Warren has not yet joined Buttigieg and Klobuchar in withdrawing from the race, and she hasn't, this has less to do with her personal calculations than the needs of the Democratic Party, which sees her candidacy as drawing votes from Sanders. So as selfish as Elizabeth Warren is, she also is taking marching orders from the same cabal. The formation of this Stop Sanders cabal disproves the very premise of Sanders' own campaign that the Democratic Party can be captured and transformed into a vehicle for social progress. What Biden and company denounce as socialism is Sanders' advocacy of mildly reformist policies involving only slightly higher taxes on the gigantic accumulation of wealth by the super rich to finance improvements in social programs, such as health, education, and childcare that already lag far behind those in many other industrialized countries. While Biden was receiving endorsements, the Sanders campaign staged a series of mass rallies addressed by the candidate as he traveled coast to coast over the weekend. 6,500 people in Springfield, Massachusetts, 10,000 on Boston Common, 10,000 at a sports arena in Springfield, Virginia in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, 13,000 at Virginia Wesleyan University in Virginia Beach, 10,000 in downtown San Jose, California, and finally on Sunday night, nearly 25,000 at the Los Angeles Convention Center. What we see now in the aftermath is that young people don't vote in primaries, as I've been saying all along. Sanders' campaign also announced Sunday that 2.2 million people had donated money in February for a total of $46.5 million, the most for any single month. Given this growing popular support, it is possible that the anti-Sanders campaign will fall short of its goal and be unable to block his nomination. In that event, however, as the price of not sabotaging his campaign, the Democratic Party would demand such far-reaching concessions on program, personnel, and policy that a Sanders administration would mean a Sanders fig leaf for the continued domination of Wall Street and the military intelligence apparatus. That's pretty harsh, but it seems plausible. Especially if the young people will not turn out in droves in the primaries, it shows that there isn't really a movement there that will ever get anything done in blocking the oligarch machinery. The bloodless revolution that Bernie Sanders has been proposing all along may not end up being bloodless, but to be fair, it may not end up happening at all, as we just keep swimming in the same shit that we've been swimming in for 40 years. Older voters had their day on Super Tuesday. Older voters control the primaries, and in this case, come November, older voters will have to look you squarely in the eye and tell you that they gave you Donald Trump. We've been telling them for months that the Bernie or Trump voters in swing states will ensure that Biden will go the same way that Clinton did. It's been clear all along that the party insiders would rather have Trump than Bernie, but what we're starting to see now that some of their sycophant, suck-up, comfortable Democrats have figured out that they're also going to be better off under Donald Trump. So the rest of us can just go eat cake. And large sections of the Democratic Party would balk at any such arrangement where Sanders had the presidency but was still allowing Wall Street to dominate and the military intelligence apparatus. These Democrats fear that the nomination of a candidate who calls himself a democratic socialist could encourage the entry into American political life of broad layers of working people and youth who have been excluded by the corporate-controlled two-party system. Every presidential candidate nominated by the Democratic Party for the last 44 years has been right-wing. Given a choice between Sanders, left phraseology, and Trump, much of the Democratic leadership will choose Trump. And as I just said, many comfortable Democrats in your neighborhoods are also choosing Donald Trump. And you can look them in the eye and you can tell them so. They prefer Donald Trump. Sanders understands this full well, but he nonetheless presents himself as the most loyal of Democrats. While the Democratic Party plots his downfall, he commits himself to mobilize his supporters behind whomever is chosen by the Democratic Convention in Milwaukee, even the billionaire Bloomberg, just as he did in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. This is a dangerous game that Bernie is playing, and if he tries to play it without the Bernie or bust and the Bernie or Trump voters, he's going to lose again, just like he did last time. Never let anyone tell you that Bernie wants us to jump in line behind Biden or Bloomberg. And if he were capable of a candid conversation about Elizabeth Warren, he would tell you, don't jump behind Elizabeth either. She's just as bad as the others, and he knows it. If we want to prevent Bernie from becoming the biggest sheepdog of them all, we have to help him. We have to get other people that we know to sign the Bernie or Bust 2020.us pledge. We have to go full ballistic apeshit on Twitter and Facebook and Reddit and Instagram and everywhere else that we hang out. Based on my back of the napkin calculations, it's already too late for Bernie to win a majority because of Texas, because of Beto, because of the machine. But a strident army of Bernie or Busters and Bernie or Trumpers can move people around still. We can still sway what happens at the convention. What we may not have realized was that the contest was over yesterday. It looks to me as though we already have 4 more years of Donald Trump guaranteed. And so now is just the sabotage and the sour grapes and the frustration and the name calling and the finger pointing that we had last time. Because of the same Bernie or Trump voters in the swing states that we had last time, Donald Trump is a foregone conclusion. The only possible hope is to persuade the superdelegates to vote for whoever gets the plurality going into the convention. But if the cabal is this dead set against Bernie, then it probably already is yellow vest time. Because I'm a part-time truck driver, I already have my collection of yellow vests, but I would urge you to purchase a yellow vest and wear it around anywhere you go. I think we're past the point of being able to stop this peacefully. But if there's any hope left at all, it's BernieOrBust2020.us. Sanders' response to the Democratic Party's open and unrestrained hostility to him exposes the depth of his own political demagogy. It once again demonstrates that efforts such as his, which are oriented to the Democratic Party, mean the death of any progressive social movement. The Socialist Equality Party again insists that it is necessary to develop an independent movement of the working class to advance the broadly felt popular opposition to the Democratic and Republican parties. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's the answer or not. I know that third parties have been strangled out of existence in the United States. It sort of looks like the end stages of a chess game where you only have your king and 2 pawns left. So let's look a little more closely into Barack Obama's role in this cabal's organization.
As Democrats begin to coalesce around Joe Biden as the moderate alternative to Bernie Sanders, there appears to be a quiet hand behind the rapid movement: former President Barack Obama. Obama spoke with his former vice president after he handily won the South Carolina primary on Saturday, and with Pete Buttigieg on Sunday when he dropped out of the Democratic race, according to people familiar with the calls. People close to Obama said the former president has been keeping close tabs on the race. They said the signal has been sent in the past 36 hours that he sees Biden as the candidate to back, and they don't need Obama to say it publicly or privately. So basically, he called Pete Buttigieg. Buttigieg dropped out, thinks he's going to curry favor with that wing of the party. And I think Klobuchar did the same. I think Klobuchar is gunning for a vice presidential spot. For me, if Biden is going to pull a Ted Cruz and pick a vice presidential nominee before any of this is over, I think it's going to be Amy Klobuchar or Stacey Abrams. Those are the two horses that I'm betting on. And I think that was the Klobuchar's play as well. And also, they have this groupthink. They genuinely think Bernie Sanders can't win, and they also don't want Bernie Sanders to win because then Klobuchar would have to vote for Medicare for all. How dare she? How dare she have to give health care to her constituents instead of just playing both sides and being exactly in the center? And Beto O'Rourke, wow, what a fall from grace. You know, unfortunately for me, Ted Cruz retweeted me and responded to my tweet where I said Beto fooled us all. Look, maybe I'm naive, but Beto ran a really progressive campaign in a lot of ways. I was willing to believe he evolved from his more conservative voting record. Doesn't seem to have been the case. He just endorsed Joe Biden, and that's going to sway, I think, no one. But I'm a little worried about Texas, where Bernie really needs to do well.
No, Beto did it in Texas. Beto knifed Bernie in the back. He knifed progressivism in the back. So it looks like we're stuck with Donald Trump again. You'll hear a lot of wailing and weeping from the centrist Democrat suburbanites. They're going to tell you, oh, you Bernie or bust people, you have to line up behind Biden. You have to vote for the corporate sock puppet. And it wouldn't matter, even if they could talk sense into us, it's not going to work with those Bernie or Trump voters in swing states. They're poised and ready to do the same thing to Biden that they did to Hillary. So Biden isn't going to win the presidency. How could Biden win the presidency? Just listen to him talk. He's not going to win the presidency. So what you're doing is you're voting directly for Donald Trump, and you need to admit it now. Because of Texas, I really feel like there's no way for Bernie to win a majority going into the convention. It's just yelling and screaming now. That's all there's left to do. That, and take the Bernie or Bust pledge. BernieOrBust2020.us.
Get on board the Bernie or Bust train. Come get on board the Bernie or Bust train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board the Bernie or Bust train.
The preceding episode can be viewed on the YouTube channel Bernie or Bust Television.